Okay, so got a little bit more framing done. Had to replace all this due to some rot that was there. Then I had torn out some reinforcements there, so I went ahead and replaced those because that wall was a little bit flexible. And then I've got tar paper down over the subfloor to keep the mortar bed, the moisture from that, from soaking into the wood. And I've got the base of the shower drain installed, and I ended up going with that corner location because I'm gonna have the handle, whatever, knob, like right here on this wall, and then the shower head up there. And I'm gonna do a glass door, and you'll probably be standing like over here with the shower head angled that way. That was my thinking. So then the water should drain nicely and you won't be like blocking it. Because like a center drain, your feet usually get in the way and cause the water to dam up. Okay, if you can't tell, I don't know if I've mentioned it at all in any of the videos I've posted, but I'm no longer doing a shower stall in this corner. I'm building a custom shower over here. So it'll have little niches here for shampoo and soap and all that. And then the mortar bed is pretty much set up now. I could probably go ahead and start doing the next few layers to get it prepped for tile. The next thing that goes down is a PVC liner. It's a 40 mil OD liner that is actually the water barrier. And then on top of that, there is dry pack cement and like gravel around the drain for the weep holes. And then you thin set over all that, and then you can tile. But before I get to that, I will have to do the plumbing for the shower head, and I'll probably just go ahead and do the rest of the plumbing and kind of get the electrical set up in here, and then put in my cement board, and yeah, and then kind of do the tiling all at once. But this was kind of a big hurdle, figuring out how I wanted to do my waterproofing system and how to do just a shower. I've never done anything like this, so it was a lot of learning. But yeah, in that last clip you could see I was smoothing it out. I had already screeded it with these different length boards and got my slope pretty even down to the drain, and then smoothed it out, and then I got to check it yesterday, and I don't know, it was kind of hard to tell when I was doing it how good the slope was, because the lighting is just not great in here. There's a lot of shadows. So, but I checked it yesterday, and it does seem like there's like no flat spots, and the slope is real nice and even, and yeah, just smooth. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. I'm probably gonna bring the skirt up over here because I don't think that's enough for the liner. But yeah, we're getting there. So while I was waiting for the mortar bed to dry yesterday, I actually redid my subfloor here in the hallway. I had done a patch previously, but it wasn't really level enough for my standards, which are not that high. I mean, the floor is pretty unlevel overall in the whole house, but it was just like a little too much of a ridge that it was gonna make, like around here, I think. So I redid it with one piece, which made more sense. Anyways, then I went ahead and patched it. I got a new flooring nailer that's pneumatic because I couldn't get the nails for the old one that I had. Yeah, these are old boards from in the bathroom. I kind of have to pick through them and find ones that don't have water damage and stuff, but these, this is just like some more of that tar paper that's on top that can be scraped off, and then when I refinish the floor, it should all come out, and it should match pretty well since it's all from the same, you know, that's the same wood. It's just, it was in there, so it should match pretty nice. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's really like very solid. It doesn't squeak at all when I walk on it, so that's kind of all I'm asking for there. Yeah, so I just gotta, now all I gotta do in here before, other than refinishing, is make a cut on that mark right there, straight across, and then do like a, I'm probably gonna do a custom grate or something, route out the edge of the boards and have something that sits flush. So I think that would be cool. And the current project right now is the soft area in the living room over here. This there's kind of some soft spots like in this corner, and it was really, you know, bouncy over here, and come to find out that is because the subfloor had quite a bit of termite damage. I mean, that stuff just like, it's like those granola bars. They just like make crumbs everywhere. Anyways, so yeah, I gotta pull up like about 10 to 15 square feet of hardwood over here to make sure I get the subfloor fully repaired, and then lay back down hardwood. Hopefully I can save a lot of these boards and I won't need to buy any new wood, but I've got a little bit left over still from the bathroom. These all had the nails taken out of them, so those can be used, most of them, and then whatever I can save from here. The termites didn't actually mess with the hardwood at all. They just ate up the subfloor. So yeah. Okay, so I've made some progress tearing up the hardwood. Obviously there was also some subfloor here, but all of that is just like here's a piece. I mean, it's just really eaten up. So I'm at least gonna have to come back to around here, and basically from kind of the middle of that pile all the way at least to the wall there. As I pull more up, I'll see more of the damage and assess it accordingly. But this stuff back here is actually fairly solid. Most of this, there was a few spots there, and then obviously these boards, you can see there's a joist there. But one thing that's interesting, that all that was the original joist, and somebody has previously come in and replaced the joist, but they did not replace the subfloor. So they probably just got under there to fix the structural issue and just kind of left the subfloor and the hardwood. So that is kind of a big bonus, because if I had to replace the joists, that would be pretty hard to do without either, you know, doing some structure here and doing a patch, or like I don't know. I think I would really need to replace the whole thing. So I'd probably have to pull the floor up on this whole side of the room. So I'm glad that's already been done. I guess I probably wouldn't have to pull the whole floor up, but it's really tight crawl space on this side of the house. So yeah, that would have been a pain, but definitely have some more demo to do over here. And I've only got one sheet of subfloor material over here, and I'll probably have to get a little more. I think that sheet will probably do like 75% of it, but yeah. Okay, so I've been wiring the bathroom. Here's the schematic for that. Got a 200 amp panel that's sitting in the living room right now. I'll show it. I'm gonna have a 20 amp GFI breaker that I have not ordered yet, going to that outlet right there on the left, and that's the 12.2 Romex for that. And then there's gonna be a light switch on the right side there that controls the vanity light. And then that is actually gonna be, that Romex is jumpering from there to the top of this gang box 15 amp vanity light. And that comes in the top. Then in the bottom is gonna be the light switch for the main light. So I'm gonna have vanity light over there, and then like a candle light or a light fixture here. And then on the left is another switch, and it'll be a 15 amp GFI, which I've already got. And that's what's gonna power my, I'm gonna do a fan and LED in there. So yeah, that's kind of how all that X'd out stuff was a mistake, but that's kind of how I've got this set up. I needed to get it roughed in, and I gotta get the plumbing as well so that I can start to, you know, finish things up in here, get the walls up and finish the shower. Yeah, that's been fun figuring that out. And when I need to look things up, this here is the research chair. I've got the trash bag so that the mesh isn't pulling me off, because it's been really cold in here and I've been relying on just this little heater. But now I have heat coming out of here. So it's up to 57 degrees in here actually, which is kind of crazy. And it was just an electrical problem for the heat. Now it's definitely expensive to run because it's like strip heat instead of like gas or heat pump. Okay, so I've got the Square D home line panel. It's a 30 space 200 amp panel. It did not come with an isolated ground. I'm probably going to get 2 ground bars and run one on each side and then join them so that I can not have to pull so much wire through. Because if I have an isolated ground here at the bottom, when I pull my Romex through, it'll have to be long enough to go, you know, from the top. Like you would have to pull it there, and it would have to reach all the way there, and then you just cut the line in the neutral shorter than the ground. So I think I'm gonna do 2 buses up the side. But I've been figuring out how I'm going to hook this up as a sub panel. And that's still kind of in the works. I got to figure out what is allowed. I was gonna say legal, but I don't really know what fits code, because it's not necessarily the correct way of doing it, having a full service panel like this as the sub panel. With the normal way, if you did this, you would have either service coming directly from the meter to this box, or the service going to a disconnect box out there. But instead I have the service going into a breaker box with a 200 amp breaker out there. So in theory, I don't know, I gotta look into it, but in theory I could do 200 amp breakers and just make sure I don't mix up the phases. I was talking to Paul about this. If I don't swap the phases, then I could do 200 amp breakers and have them both coming in, and then have like double into each line in there, and then run my neutral obviously there in the middle. And then this does have to have, I have to disconnect the ground from the neutral bar out there, because it's like all the neutral and ground are together on that panel. I'll have to disconnect that ground and give this box its own ground in order for the GFIs to work. But anyways, what I have now is like 6 15 amp standard breaker single poles, then like 9 20 amp single pole breakers, and I've got a couple doubled in slots at the bottom and top there to add stuff later, and then I've got the 30 amp dual poles at the top, and then these are GFI, and then I've got to get a couple 20 amp GFIs. And I may swap them out for a couple of those. I don't think I'll need 9, but I'd rather have breakers on hand. That way if I want to add wiring later, it's no big deal. And yeah, so got to figure out exactly where I want to mount that based on how I'm going to do my service entry to it. So that's going to take a little bit of research. I'm probably going to talk to some contractor friends and see what they think, or maybe some electricians, instead of just reading, because you know, a lot of the stuff is in the code book, but like that's an unusual situation. So I don't know if there's like exceptions for old houses and things like that. But yeah, that's the panel. Okay, so this is what we're working with right now. As you can see, that joist right there is probably one of the worst as far as like how far towards the center of the room that the termite damage went. But there's my big pile of trash, and I have saved a little bit of the hardwood. This is what I've got so far, and that's up there. That can all be reused, but then I am gonna have to buy either some new material or get some old used stuff. But I'm working on cutting away the subfloor to get myself some clean edges, and then I'm gonna have to deal with getting all these angles matched and stuff for putting the subfloor down. But before I'm actually laying the subfloor, the reason I pulled this much up instead of just like pulling out the damage and laying down subfloor is these two joists, as you can see, were not scabbed onto. That one doesn't even run to the foundation. This one does, but as you can see, when I don't know if you can tell because I'm moving too, but when it's bouncy. It's missing a big chunk there, and that rock goes pretty deep. So this end of the board though is still really solid. So I do think I'm gonna stick with the repair instead of replace, because I would have to tear out pretty much all of this floor. I mean, I'd have to tear out this entire end of the room if I wanted to replace all these joists. I would like to do that and just have the peace of mind that it's all new and it would look a lot better, but structurally, scabbing onto these, I mean, these are really strong beams, and you know, these scabs here are really solid. Like the floor feels really stable over here. I think that this one I will add another scab on the other side just because this rock goes so far, but these start getting strong. Like that's right around here is where it starts getting dense again. So maybe I'll scab that one too, actually. But these over here are just really not too bad, and the repair that they did is pretty solid. They used nails though, so I am gonna go through and add screws to all of the pre-existing scabs. And I'll probably leave this little pillar, little stack there they did. They've got a half a center block, 3 bricks, and a wedge. A wooden wedge. And you know, the thing is, I mean, that works. I mean, it feels pretty solid, honestly. Like I'll stand on that, no problem. Now I wouldn't want that supporting all of my floor, so I'm gonna scab that anyways and take it over to the foundation. And then I'll get some nice thick subfloor on there, and I'll use screws for everything, so it should add some strength there. But yeah, that's how that's looking. It's quite a bit torn out. It's a lot more than I thought. I was thinking maybe 10 square feet, like around there where I'm shining the light. And it's turned into more like maybe 50. I don't know. I haven't measured, but it's probably about 50 square feet, maybe 75. Of hardwood that needs to be replaced. So yep, coming along. One thing that I forgot to say, actually, and I'm gonna say it in the video because it might help me remember, but I think when I scab these, oh, and that's not the one we want to be stepping on. Uh, I think when I scab these, what I'll do, especially for like this one here, is I'll run the other scab on the opposite side and then use either lag bolts or either even possibly through bolt. Like actually drill a hole, put a bolt through, and then use some washers so that I'm like adding some clamping force, and that should help structurally, because the main concern, the scabs, obviously they're not replacement joists, so they don't go to the opposite wall like foundation. So that concern would be that all of the fasteners are in shear, so the boards are, like, I wish I could use both hands, but yeah, they're in shear, and the concern would be that, force in the center of the room would cause the joist and the scab to like scissor and buckle in the middle. So I'm thinking if I put them in some, like, use some compression and like in this direction to squeeze the old joist, that should kind of help take some of that tension off of the fasteners, and then maybe some lag bolts. I'm probably gonna go a little crazy with the fasteners there, as long as I'm using my large one like kind of in the center of the beam, or the joist, instead of like on the edges, because that's where the tension and compression is. But yeah, I just forgot to mention that, and if I have it in the video, it might help me remember, or someone will see it and remind me. So, yep.